How depersonalization derealization disorder DPDR can mimic bipolar disorder. Good morning, everyone. Today I'd like to talk about a complex and often misunderstood phenomenon. How depersonalization derealization disorder DPDR can mimic bipolar disorder. These two conditions may seem unrelated at first, but their overlapping symptoms can sometimes lead to confusion or misdiagnosis. My goal is to shed light on their similarities, highlight their differences, and explain why accurate diagnosis is essential for proper treatment and mental health care. Introduction to DPDR and bipolar disorder. Let's start by defining these conditions. Bipolar disorder is a mood disorder characterized by alternating episodes of mania or hypomania, periods of high energy euphoria or irritability, and depression, periods of low energy sadness and hopelessness. Depersonalization derealization disorder DPDR, on the other hand, is a dissociative condition where individuals experience persistent or recurrent feelings of detachment. Depersonalization, feeling disconnected from yourself as if you're an observer of your own life. Derealization, feeling detached from your surroundings as though the world around you is unreal or dreamlike. At first glance, these conditions might seem distinct, but their symptoms can sometimes overlap or be interpreted in ways that mimic one another. Emotional blunting versus mood episodes. One of the ways DPDR can mimic bipolar disorder is through emotional changes. People with DPDR often report feeling emotionally numb or detached from their emotions, which can look like the flattened effect sometimes seen in bipolar depression. Conversely, the shifts between moments of intense dissociation and occasional emotional overwhelm in DPDR may resemble the emotional highs and lows of bipolar disorder. Example, a person with DPDR might feel emotionally distant and unable to connect with loved ones, leading to a misinterpretation as bipolar depression. When they have moments of heightened anxiety or racing thoughts, these can be mistaken for hypomania. Racing thoughts and cognitive symptoms. Both DPDR and bipolar disorder can involve racing thoughts, but the causes and context differ. In bipolar disorder, racing thoughts occur during manic or hypomanic episodes, often accompanied by high energy, grandiosity, and impulsivity. In DPDR, racing thoughts are typically driven by anxiety, often tied to existential fear, self-doubt, or intrusive worries about the nature of reality. Key difference. Racing thoughts in DPDR are more likely to focus on questions like, why do I feel disconnected, or is this real? In bipolar mania, the thoughts might focus on grand plans, productivity, or risky behaviors. Perception of reality. Another area of overlap is the altered perception of reality. People with derealization and DPDR often feel as though the world around them is surreal, foggy, or dreamlike. During a manic episode, individuals with bipolar disorder may also describe feeling detached or as though their thoughts are larger than life, giving a sense of similarity to derealization. Example, a person experiencing derealization might say, the world doesn't feel real to me, while someone in a manic episode might say, I feel like I'm seeing things in a whole new way. Without further context, these descriptions can sound similar. Anxiety and irritability. Both conditions can involve anxiety and irritability, which can be misinterpreted as symptoms of bipolar disorder. In bipolar disorder, anxiety and irritability are common during both manic and depressive episodes. In DPDR, anxiety is a core feature and often the driving force behind dissociation. This anxiety can escalate into irritability or panic, especially if the person feels trapped in their dissociative state. Example, a person with DPDR might feel anxious and irritable because they're constantly questioning their reality, but this could be mistaken for the agitation seen in a mixed bipolar episode. Depersonalization and mania. Depersonalization can sometimes mimic the detachment or expansive feelings associated with mania or hypomania. During a manic episode, individuals with bipolar disorder may feel like they're invincible or disconnected from everyday concerns, which might resemble the detached observer-like state of depersonalization. However, the content of these states is different. In mania, detachment might feel empowering or euphoric. In DPDR, detachment is usually distressing and accompanied by a strong sense of disconnection. Fatigue and motivation. Both DPDR and bipolar disorder can involve fatigue or lack of motivation, but for different reasons. In bipolar depression, low energy and a lack of interest are key symptoms of the depressive episode. In DPDR, fatigue often arises from chronic anxiety, mental exhaustion, or the stress of navigating persistent dissociation. A person with DPDR might say, "I don't feel like doing anything because nothing feels real," which could be misinterpreted as the hopelessness of bipolar depression. Chronic nature of DPDR versus episodic nature of bipolar disorder. A key distinction between DPDR and bipolar disorder lies in the timeline of symptoms. Bipolar disorder is episodic, meaning people experience distinct periods of mania, depression, or normal mood. DPDR is often chronic or recurring, with symptoms persisting continuously or fluctuating in response to stress or anxiety triggers. Key point: if someone reports a constant feeling of detachment without clear mood episodes, DPDR may be the more accurate diagnosis. Misdiagnosis and consequences. Because of these overlapping symptoms, DPDR is sometimes misdiagnosed as bipolar disorder, especially if a clinician focuses on mood instability, anxiety, or cognitive changes. This misdiagnosis can have significant consequences. Bipolar disorder treatment. Mood stabilizers and antipsychotics, which are standard treatments for bipolar disorder, may not address the dissociative symptoms of DPDR, could even worsen them in some cases. DPDR treatment. Effective treatment for DPDR typically involves therapy like cognitive behavioral therapy or mindfulness-based stress reduction, along with addressing the underlying anxiety. Why a proper diagnosis matters. Accurate diagnosis is crucial because the wrong treatment can lead to frustration and worsening symptoms. For individuals with DPDR, being treated for bipolar disorder may leave their dissociation unaddressed, leading to ongoing distress. Similarly, a person with bipolar disorder misdiagnosed with DPDR might not receive the mood stabilization they need, resulting in further episodes. Conclusion. In conclusion, while depersonalization, derealization disorder, and bipolar disorder are distinct conditions, their overlapping symptoms such as mood changes, emotional blunting, and racing thoughts can sometimes make differentiation challenging. However, by examining the context, triggers, and timeline of symptoms, clinicians can make a more accurate diagnosis. Raising awareness about these conditions and their similarities is essential for improving mental health care. By understanding the differences, we can ensure that individuals receive the correct diagnosis and ultimately the most effective treatment.